Hello and welcome to the FY26 Farm and Ranch Stress Assistance Network FRSAN Program NOFO Technical Assistance Webinar. I am Edwin Lewis. I'm the National Program Leader for this program. This is the first time that NIFA is competing FRSAN since it launched in 2020. Today's session is a walkthrough of the FRSAN Notice of Funding Opportunity. We'll cover what's new, who's eligible, how to apply, and how to make your proposal competitive. So again, Edwin Lewis, the National Program Leader for the FRSAN program. I also have a program specialist, Isabella Jablonska. She will not be joining us today, but she will be working with her as we move forward. So during this webinar, we'll provide an overview of NIFA, an overview of the FRSAN program. We'll talk a little bit about the details and documents needed. We'll talk a little bit about the evaluation process. We'll offer just a few tips for success and then identify a few additional resources that may be helpful for you. So FRSAN is one of many grant programs led by the National Institute of Food and Agriculture, also known as NIFA. NIFA is the USDA agency that funds extramural research, education, and extension or technical assistance programs. It connects science with practice nationwide. NIFA's mission is to invest in programs that ensure the long-term viability of agriculture. NIFA provides strategic leadership, competitive funding, and emphasis on real-world adoption of proven practices and technologies. Next, we'll provide a program overview of FRSAN. So the purpose and priorities of FRSAN. FRSAN supports a network that connects individuals who are engaged in farming, ranching, and other agricultural-related occupations to stress assistance programs. Some of those key priorities covered in this program are agricultural behavioral health awareness, education and training, referral services, counseling as appropriate, and also a 24-hour distress helpline. So who's eligible to apply? Eligibility to apply to FRSAN is limited to the following. An Indian tribe as defined by 25 USC 5304, State Departments of Agriculture, State Cooperative Extension Services, a qualified nonprofit organization as determined by the Secretary, an entity providing appropriate services as determined by the Secretary, a partnership carried out by two or more entities as described above. Regional center applications will only be accepted if submitted by a collaborative of state, tribal, local, or regional-based networks or partnerships of qualified public and private institutions. Regional center applications submitted by an individual or by an individual institution will not be considered. So we will take talk shortly about two different program areas that you can apply to this year. In the NOFO, you will see a reference to project and grant type on page 14. All applicants will use, for project type, you'll use extension, and for grant type, you will use standard. So although we have two different program areas that you can apply to, you'll use extension for project type, and for grant type, you will use standard. So in FY26, you can apply to one of two different program areas. You could be the lead entity for one of the 4 regional centers, and for the first time, we are launching the National Farmer Distress Helpline. So you can apply for that particular program as well. Regarding the regional centers, you can apply as lead for one of the 4 centers. So please identify in your application which region you are applying to lead. I do want to note one error in the NOFO, and that is on page 8. Under the North Central region and the Northeastern region, the states listed under those were swapped. And so just want for clarity, under the Northeast region, we are talking about the following states: Connecticut, Delaware, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, Vermont, West Virginia, and the District of Columbia. For the North Central region, we're talking about Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Michigan, Minnesota, Missouri, Nebraska, North Dakota, Ohio, South Dakota, and Wisconsin. So please be aware that those states need to be swapped as you're considering which region you plan to apply to lead. So here are the key roles for our regional centers: to develop strategic partnerships and collaborations for services and referrals and resources, outreach and training, including evidence-based prevention and intervention programs, to make referrals when appropriate, to facilitate community-based support groups, including peer-to-peer support programs, and to maintain a regional website to disseminate information and materials. Our regional centers will no longer be responsible for coordinating the regional helpline or crisis line. Okay, since the program launched in 2019-2020, the regional centers had the responsibility for coordinating and funding the helpline or crisis line for their respective regions. Although FRSAN was not appropriated additional funding in FY26, Congress did request that NIFA engage with SAMHSA and the 988 suicide prevention staff to explore the possibility, the feasibility of a single national crisis line for farmers and ranchers. Consequently, in FY26, we have set aside funding from the regular appropriation of $9.5 million. We set aside funding for a national farmer distress helpline. So the National Farmer Distress Helpline will operate a 24/7, 365 crisis line dedicated to addressing the unique stressors and behavioral health needs of agricultural communities, including suicide prevention, mental health crisis, substance use, and emotional distress. There will be one award to a highly qualified and experienced entity. There will be coordination with the 988 suicide crisis line, and we will help connect our helpline with the 988 suicide crisis line staff, and we'll also expect coordination with our FRSAN regional centers. So application details and deadlines. So first, we'll talk about some key changes from the prior year, or from when the program was first competed. Again, one we just covered, and that is we have 2 program areas this year. You could compete for a regional center, or you could compete for the National Farmer Distress Helpline. The current regional centers have the option of submitting either a new or a renewal application. Please pay attention to that in the NOFO. Renewal applications have some additional requirements in terms of discussing your past performance. So those who are currently serving as regional centers can submit an application as a renewal application. Now, the criteria that you'll be evaluated against will be the same as a new, but you will be expected to highlight the impact of your previous work. Also, encouraging everyone to be mindful of this administration's executive orders as you prepare your application. As you might know, we will not fund applications that does not align with the administration's executive orders. All applicants are expected now to use the Science CV generated USDA BioSketch and USDA current and pending forms. So if you have not started to understand that process, we encourage you to do that as quickly as possible. There are additional details in the NIFA application guide. So if you have questions, please explore the guide. It offers a lot of good guidance on the Science CV process. So as we talk about a little bit about the application details here, just a couple things we want to highlight. The NOFO, you can find that information on the NIFA FRSAN page. You can find a link to it, or you can go to the grants.gov to access the NOFO and application package. The application deadline this year is very condensed. So August 10th at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is the deadline. And again, we know this is a condensed time frame, but encourage you to plan accordingly. The funding this year for the regional centers and the helpline combined is close to $9.6 million. As you are going through your process and you need a code for the program, it is going to be FRSAN. Here we list the maximum amount that you can apply for a regional center and for the National Farmer Distress Helpline. These amounts are the amounts that you apply for, that you'll be applying for this year. However, the period of performance for your award is a 4-year award. And so if you're awarded this year, this is the amount you'll receive for FY26, but for the next 3 years, you will have a non-competitive continuation awards, and those awards will be contingent upon the amount of appropriation that we receive from Congress in those years. So your budgets must reflect a 4-year period of performance, and you can use the amounts that are available for FY26 to base your subsequent years on in terms of your budget and your planning. So key documents. Here are some key documents that you must include in your application. Understand that NIFA does an initial screening process, and if it's missing key documents, your application will not go on to further review by the panel. So your project summary must be included, project narrative, if appropriate, bibliography and references, your reference list, if appropriate, your data management plan, and there are other documents that you want to make sure that you're aware of. And you can do that by looking both in the NOFO and in the NIFA application guide. Some other documents might include or will include your budget justification. Those documents are essential and required. So let's talk a little bit about one of your key documents here, and that's your project narrative. So the project narrative total will be 28 pages will be your limit. And when we say strictly enforced, again, a part of our initial screening process will be is if you go past 28 pages, you're at 29 pages, your application does not go on for further review, and we do this to ensure fairness for all of our applicants. The spacing in your project narratives, 1.5 spacing. Font size is 12-point font, except for when you get into your tables figures, you can use a 11-point font in your tables and figures. The exception to the page limit. For our renewal applications, and we talked about that for our existing center leads, we are requiring a 2-page progress report. and that is progress from your previous work, and so that will not count toward your 28-page limit. The data management plan. A data management plan is required. PDs must provide business and management plans up to 2 pages, including expected data type, data format, data storage and preservation, data sharing, protection, and public access, and the roles and responsibilities. And this slide includes a link for more details about the data management plan that could also be found in your NIFA application guide. So NIFA only accepts, and this is very critical, electronic submissions of your application. So application documents must be in PDF format for NIFA to accept them. It can be tricky for those who are not used to going through this process because grants.gov may allow formats that are not PDF. But when those documents go into grants.gov and come to NIFA, NIFA does not, our system will not accept non-PDF formats. And so we will get on our side an error message and will not be able to access those documents. So if your project summary or your project narrative or your budget narrative comes in and it's not in a PDF, we will not be able to read it and we will not be able to move your application forward. So just want to emphasize that important point. So let's talk a little bit about the evaluation application evaluation process. So this slide is really our standard NIFA process, but let me talk a little bit about how we will operate under this condensed time frame. We have recruited external reviewers with relevant expertise. Each proposal will receive at least 3 reviews and will be evaluated based on strengths and weaknesses. Because of our time constraints, we will not assemble the reviewers for a panel discussion this year. NIFA will make funding decisions based on the reviewers, on their reviews and their scores and written rankings. So that is the way we will operate this year. The evaluation criteria for the regional centers is laid out on pages 26 and 27 of the NOFO. All of these areas are critical, and so if you want to know how to focus your writing, go to the evaluation criteria and understand this is what our panel of reviewers will be looking at. They will evaluate your proposals based on these 8 items. For our National Farmer Distress Helpline, there are 7 criteria lined out on page 27 and 28 of the NOFO. So again, focus your attention there to understand what our reviewers will be looking at as they evaluate your application for this year. So all these items are very critical. On average, a competitive program takes about 6 to 9 months from the time applications are due to the award being made to your institution. Obviously, this year we are working on a much more condensed timeline. So again, this is what it usually takes, and so I just want you all to see this so you'll understand why the short open window for the NOFO and why we've had to make some other adjustments on the back end because these are one-year funds. These funds must be appropriated or must be obligated to the awardees by the end of September. As we get close to wrapping up, just want to offer a few tips for success. So before you start writing, a couple things to consider. Is your topic appropriate for this program? Is FRSAN the right program for you? Don't want you to waste your time, so take your time going through the NOFO to make sure this is the right program for you. Also, make sure you're eligible. So go to the eligibility section to make sure that this is the right program for you and that you're eligible. And do you understand the requirements in the NOFO? So we encourage our applicants to read, highlight, reread the NOFO. It is quite nuanced, and so it's easy to overlook very important areas. So make sure you understand it. And then make sure you understand the application review process, our evaluation criteria. Um, and do you have all the resources that you might need? This program does not require a match, but certainly it will require partners as you talk about regional centers and a national hotline or crisis line. Some tips: write clearly and logically. Make sure your project narrative is well organized. Prepare a budget that is strong and justifiable. Obtain critical input from experienced and successful colleagues. Fill out your forms completely. Understand the formats that are required for both your project narrative, the flexibility that you might have with your tables and your figures. And then, although we have a group of experts who are reviewing, understand that our clearance process throughout USDA, there are a number of folks who will be looking at recommended awards. So make sure that you write for both experts and for novice, those who might not be quite the expert in this field, so that what you plan to do can be clearly understood. Here's a planning checklist. What I'll do here is really just, I'm going to go down to the bottom again. We talked about how complex this process is. So being prepared and making a game plan is very important. But again, want to emphasize these last couple of points, which is converting, making sure, one, you submit all your documents, and then two, that they're converted to PDF. And although this is a condensed timeline, I strongly encourage you not to wait until the last couple of hours on August 10th to submit, because almost invariably folks are hitting hiccups as they wait to that last minute. And NIFA is very strict about cutting off at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. A document checklist, again, earlier we listed some of the documents. I mentioned that NIFA will do an initial screening when your applications come in. And during that process, we regularly decline applications in the initial screening process for various reasons. The key documents are not included, key documents are not converted to PDF. And at that point, your application does not even move on to be reviewed by the panel. So again, make sure that part of your going through the NOFO is that you make a list of what are the documents that must be included, and as you submit, upload your application, you are checking off those documents and that they are in PDF format. Few additional, or just one really additional resource here that I want to share. NIFA has a NIFA data gateway. And in this data gateway, you can look at previously funded projects. So what you can find in here, and again, we haven't completed this program since 2020, but you'll be able to find the applications that we award, not the applications fully, but really a synopsis of what we funded. So if you want to look at what NIFA has previously funded in terms of our regional centers, you can find those project synopsis overviews and progress reports in the NIFA Data Gateway. Because we are just launching the distress helpline, you will not find any application related to that in the Data Gateway. Final list of resources here. And again, we'll upload both the presentation and the slides, so you'll be able to hopefully click these links. And so on our website, you can find like our funding opportunities, competitive grant flow charts. On our website, you'll be able to find some great training resources just on grantsmanship. You'll also be able to find our policy guide. So we have a NIFA application guide, and then we have a NIFA policy guide, both very useful resources. We have some guidance that talks specifically about indirect costs. And then again, our NIFA application guide. If you have questions during this process, I encourage you to send emails to our FRSAN email box, the NIFA FRSAN email box. This email address, you'll find this on page 34 of the NOFO. So if you have questions regarding the application or the NOFO, feel free to send a question to that email box. Before we wrap up, I will need to share with you our non-discrimination statement. I'll read the first paragraph and summarize the second paragraph. In accordance with federal civil rights laws and the U.S. Department of Agriculture civil rights regulations and policies, the USDA, its agencies, offices, and employees, and institutions participating in or administering USDA programs are prohibited from discriminating based on race, color, national origin, religion, sex, disability, age, marital status, family, parental status, income derived from a public assistance program, political beliefs, or reprisal or retaliation for prior civil rights activities in any program or activity conducted or funded by USDA. Not all bases apply to all programs. Remedies and complaint filing deadlines vary by program or incident. The second paragraph simply highlights contact information if you need accommodations for a disability or if you need translation because English may be your second language. The third paragraph is to file, if you want to file a discrimination complaint, there is contact information here in this third paragraph. That will be it. Thank you for joining the webinar, and we look forward to receiving your applications.